The epic explorers. Just a century ago, Ukraine and Russia were far from being on friendly terms, as they were descending into a catastrophic conflict by 1917. The pivotal moment triggering this turmoil was the October Revolution in Russia in 1917. Following the overthrow of the Tsar in March, the Bolsheviks set their sights on toppling the provisional government, aiming to replace the ruling class with a Bolshevik communist regime in a coup d'état that sparked a full-scale civil war, which would continue until 1923. During this tumultuous period, Ukraine sought to distance itself from the new Russian Republic, leading to the establishment of the Ukrainian National Republic as an autonomous entity within the Russian Republic on November 20, 1917. This move was driven by the chaos unfolding in Russia and the Ukrainian authorities' strong condemnation of the Bolsheviks. However, the revolution soon reached Ukraine's borders, with armed uprisings by Bolshevik revolutionaries erupting in December. Initially, the Ukrainian government managed to suppress these uprisings and deport those involved. However, as the Bolsheviks grew more aggressive, diplomatic efforts faltered. On December 7, the Council of People's Commissars in Petrograd demanded permission for Bolshevik troops to be stationed in Ukraine and threatened severe action if denied. The Ukrainian Republic flatly refused, and it became evident that diplomacy was no longer an option. The Bolshevik government declared war against Ukraine on January 2, 1918, and by the end of the month, the Ukrainian National Republic had severed all ties with Petrograd as pro-Bolshevik Soviet forces entered Ukrainian territory. The Bolshevik forces, totaling around 30,000 troops composed of garrison units, regular Russian army units, and Red Guard detachments, received support from local Bolshevik revolutionaries in left bank Ukraine, who incited uprisings alongside the invading Russian troops. Facing them was the Ukrainian force, numbering roughly 15,000 and consisting of volunteer detachments, as well as a few Cossack and Sikh rifleman battalions. By the end of January, the Bolsheviks had made significant inroads into Ukraine, capturing cities from Kharkiv to Poltava, Berdichev, and more. Their next target was Kyiv, and the Ukrainian government grew desperate to defend their capital. While initially the Sikh riflemen and Free Cossacks managed to hold Kyiv, the influx of more Bolshevik troops forced the Ukrainian government to consider whether they could withstand the invaders. The outlook was grim, and authorities feared that a last stand in Kyiv might obliterate their defenses. On February 8, the capital was evacuated, essentially handing it over to the Bolshevik forces, who arrived the following day. Meanwhile, on the same day, the Ukrainian authorities signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, leading to Germany and Austria-Hungary entering the war on the side of the USSR. Around 450,000 Central Powers troops were sent into Ukraine, drastically altering the course of the conflict. The UNR managed to push the Bolsheviks out of the right bank and recaptured Kyiv by early March, continuing their counter-offensive in the left bank. However, tensions arose when the Germans noticed that the Central Rada, the current government, enacted policies affecting foodstuff exports to the Central Powers. In response, the Germans replaced the Central Rada with the Hetman government. The combined Ukrainian-German-Austro-Hungarian forces continued to defeat the Bolsheviks, leading to a peace agreement signed by the UNR on June 12. This success was short-lived, as in November of the same year, the Directory of the Ukrainian National Republic overthrew the Hetman government, creating instability that the Bolsheviks exploited. Attempts to negotiate a successful peace deal between Kyiv and Moscow failed, leading to another full-fledged Bolshevik invasion by early 1920. The battles repeated themselves, with the left bank falling to the Bolsheviks once again, and Kyiv being evacuated once more. A tug of war ensued as territories and troops shifted back and forth, and the war continued until around October, when a typhus outbreak severely weakened the Ukrainian forces, resulting in the loss of over 70% of their troops. Although partisan fighting persisted, the signing of the Treaty of Warsaw with Poland in April 1920 brought hope for defeating the Bolsheviks. This hope was short-lived, as in October, Poland signed a peace treaty with the Bolsheviks, ending their support for Ukraine. By November 1921, the UNR made a final attempt to resist the Bolsheviks with the Second Winter Campaign, which ended in a devastating failure. The aftermath of this long conflict was devastating for Ukraine's aspirations of independence and severed ties with Russia. Instead, the Ukrainian National Republic was replaced by the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, which became one of the founding members of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics on December 30, 1922. The government of the USSR went into exile and could no longer mount resistance. Despite efforts by Ukrainian nationalists through partisan guerrilla warfare, they were unable to achieve their goals, especially when the Holodomor, a famine terror, struck Ukraine. Ukraine remained part of the Soviet Union until 1991. On August 24, the Supreme Soviet Parliament of Ukraine declared its refusal to follow the laws of the USSR and declared its intention to obey only the laws of the Ukrainian SSR. In December of the same year, Ukraine held an independence referendum, with an overwhelming majority voting in favor of independence. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, Ukraine finally achieved official independence. Though the Soviet-Ukrainian War concluded a century ago, and Ukraine freed itself from the USSR over 3 decades ago, this period remains a significant chapter in history and plays a crucial role in the complex relationship between Russia and Ukraine today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe our channel for more videos.